while I was left at Gandhi Square to speak with this miscreant and the representative Yako MTN, who brought what engaga. Kimo slicer, kimo dicer. My innocence was stark, and when I was busy talking, you could tell ukuthi labantu laba were in concert with each other. Nobody was even trying to mediate, not even the advocate. I, of course, lost that whole case because they said that I resigned. Okay, I lost that case because they said that I resigned. I don't even want to talk about what in the world happened, guys, because it just brings back so many memories and it's all very emotionally taxing. But the loudness of Gandhi Square, the only thing that enabled me to weed it out was my adrenaline rush, especially after my boss left, my former boss. Yeah, because if I don't, my future is done for. But I don't know how anybody else would be able to sift out through that noise. It definitely does not equate to white noise. District, they set us up for failure. Corporate South Africa, private sector, versus government services, public sector, vastly divorced in the exact same country. So it is no wonder South Africa is the most unequal country in the world. It is unequal because even its own government has no regard to equalize the unequally disadvantaged, because they set them up for the failure of sitting out an arbitration at the CCMA. They set the lowly in South African society up for failure because they are the ones that need to go to the legal aid board. They're the ones that need to go to CCMA. They're the ones that need to go to the labor court. A wealthy man will send his lawyer, his runner boy. An employed person will send her secretary, will send somebody, or will tiptoe around certain structures and later on literally delegate chores to other people to run these errands for them. So the system is set up in a way so as to disadvantage the poverty-stricken who have to do these rounds themselves. And so they keep failing, they keep flunking, and they keep getting shut out of their own inheritance, their own promise. South Africa, that's your crazy country that you are imaginative. It's still a going concern. Literally, I apologize. Okay, I don't know what you ate that gave you a bad stomach bug that then can cause you to hallucinate when you are busy thinking that this here nation is sustainable, is maintainable. If the public and the private sector can look just like Deep Sloot and Sandton, and Muldersdrift respectively, or Alex and Sandton respectively, you ought understand, South Africa, that you did this to yourself, because even the people chilling in corporate, in the private sector, are happy to be benefited by a system that disadvantages the lowly or the lax. I was placed slap bang in the center of both these groups, having come from a life of great abundance. However, having been thrown in squalor, I can relate with both sides of this tug of war, with both sides of this little battle, this division. And because of having lived on both extremes, I recognize I don't want to belong to either. I don't want to be a part of you who are chilling in your skyscrapers, who are sitting in ergonomically efficient buildings, because you have no care for everybody else that is having a striving in a country, that is having a striving under a nation that promises them justice, but that never delivers. Why hence do you imagine that South Africa is perpetually endured under the tyranny of service delivery protests? It is this government that keeps on promising and yet does not deliver. But the private sector is too snobbish, too snooty, too snot-nosed to have anything to do with all of this suffering. I have endured so much apathy at the hands of middle-class society and everyone else above them, higher echelons of society. I have been so classistly mistreated that I guess I didn't. The only people who were in the middle class, upper middle class, and basically going up in all of those echelons that treated me like I was any kind of human were not from South Africa. It's largely been Americans. And then, was there anybody from any other country other than the US? It's been Americans. The only people that did not treat me like a second grade citizen were not from here. You have a problem. You've got problems, South Africa. Do you understand? And in that, I will have nothing to do with it. You know me. While they don't even know me from a bar of soap, only hear my story, and yet they treat me better. I am literally better placed somewhere else. I am better placed somewhere else. Go MTN, the ergonomics, the structure, the building was ergonomically pleasant. It was similar to that of Nedbank, 45 West, the Sandton building. The lifts in the reception, the foyer, were made of glass. So no claustrophobia. There wasn't even a need for that lift music type establishment thing that actually be giving you, the horrisi or whatever. The lifts were made of glass, and so you could see everything around you. No need to suffer from claustrophobia, etc. The building was very open plan. You could see the canteen and the working environments. How you entered in there was through your access card. So your access card will give you entry into wherever it is that you've got permissions to enter into. And then once you open that door, it's like an ocean. Again, an ocean of staff, different departments. This is training, this is project management, that's finance, that's marketing, but all on the same floor. And they are all doing their job. And they are separated from each other. They've got these desks that are not that like the old school cubicles, just at that height. You see everybody's head. You can talk to your colleague. You see them. You see them as you work. So you feel a sense of camaraderie. But there is enough division for you to feel a sense of, I have my own unique desk, and I've also got my privacy type establishment thing. The boss lady, often our bosses sat right like with us, like she, sort of kind of in that corner or whatnot. But the higher people got, the bosses would then sit in this open plan establishment in desks that were separated from everybody else. Like what happened with the call center bosses that I told you about, how it is that they gave them a different desk from us, but still within an open plan area. So my bosses often sat right next to me, but the more senior things got, like the general managers, did not, unlike in old school old school corporate, have their own offices. It was only executives that had their own offices. So basically the removal of these boundary walls that are offices of certain hierarchies in the organization created familiarity in people with their bosses in a way that did not make them feel like they're unreachable, untouchable, uncontactable, such that the only person with their own office was the one that was literally their departmental head. The one that was a departmental head, and that's how it was. GMs did not have their own offices, but executives did, and so too did, of course, the CEO. And it created a rapport, an open plan camaraderie with fellow colleagues, therefore creating a sense of you see me, I see you, we are both human. You are not something I am so intimidated by that I can't touch it. I can relate with you because when I turn my head, I see you where you're sitting at your desk. Yeah, it's called ergonomics, and it is the study or the science of creating environments, especially in the workplace, that are most conducive to the working climate so as to maximize efficacy, delivery, optimal performance, essentially. And ergonomics goes all the way down to color schemes. The brighter the colors, the better. MTN already, its brand was orange and yellow, orangish yellow. So the offices were yellow, largely. If there was a color, it was yellow. Whereas I told you at Nedbank it was like powder blue. Yeah, the color there that you saw a lot at MTN was yellow, and yeah, pretty much, and silver, lots of silver. Windows open plan. You got to see 14th Avenue if you walked close to the windows. The sun was coming in, and so you felt like you were in the day and in the summer all year long, as opposed to feeling like you're in the winter all year long when you're at work, and so feel a sense of depression. They figured that out, and I don't even know what caused them to figure that out, to change the look and feel of corporates. But I would imagine marketing firms, PR firms, basically creative industries, creative jobs, they all along, from pretty much the beginning of like corporates, have always gotten that right. They were always trying to create an environment that would be enabling of creativity, that would put their staff members in some kind of a trance. Like the South African advertising industry is among the best in the world. For long, we've been winning these like elaborate awards, evidencing that PR and marketing, basically creative industries, have always just gotten ergonomics right. I always used to envy buildings of such companies, like companies that offered creative services, always had such cool offices, and there was always so much light and so much color in there. And that is the kind of environment that causes people to feel like, yeah, I can work, yeah, I can deliver, yeah, I can, you get my point, etc. So they probably did the mathematics and were like, if at all within the creative industry, people are inspired to be creative because their work environment basically looks like they're chilling at home on their veranda. Why can't we do that in offices Why can't we create cute little pause areas? Why can't we invest in the look and feel of the canteen? Why can't we invest in a certain ergonomically pleasant environment for our employees, so as to foster the most creative climate that we can get, to make them deliver the most? Do you understand? That was the one facet, ergonomics. They invested in the people by making their chairs more comfortable, their ability to relate with one another more fluid, their ability to also collaborate with one another and consolidate with each other more fluid. But that was not where it ended. They also, go MTN in particular, hence why it won Employer of Choice many years in a row. They did award money is not a motivator on its own, okay? Theories of motivation, you're going to have to read those up. Money on its own is not a motivator. So you need to feel a sense of belonging, camaraderie. You need to feel like you are part of something big. And if you can have sight of that big thing, then more so are you going to be invested in it. Hence why they basically brought down the office walls behind the hierarchy. They didn't so much flatten the structure. In some instances, they did flatten the structure by getting rid of certain structures of management. If anything, there was a restructure at MTN that did flatten the structure in that very physical capacity. But sometimes they flatten the structure by simply removing the office walls around senior managers and supervisors, alongside general managers, and only put office walls around executives. They did this thing to create the perception of a flattened structure. But when you flatten the structure, even physically, in that there are less people in whom to report, it creates an even grander sense of we all are contributing to how this whole thing is going. Instead of just one person being accountable, we all are. And when people feel involved and asked to participate in the betterment of a structure, they feel a sense of purpose. And purpose is a motivator. It is a strong motivator. Go and read yesterday King Herzberg's theories of motivation and realize that when you give people purpose, you can make them do everything you need them to do, even when you don't reward them materially, even when you don't reward them financially. And that is the reason why I keep doing the work that I am doing, even though I don't have money, even though no one pays me, even though I've been smothered and shut out of my own ministry. No, I haven't been shut out of my own ministry, but out of my own audience. Even though, people have shadow banned me, they've taken away my advanced features, they've ABC, like the stuff that has been done to me is treacherous, it's horrific. I am maintained anyway because the motivation behind me is the purpose I've been given by Jesus Christ. I have a job to do in the Lord. And so for those reasons, I'm pushed, I'm propelled, I'm moved on by it. That's why you get certain people doing extreme jobs like Doctors Without Borders, leaving a cushy Lonnie job with a corner office as a plastic surgeon or as some hotshot doctor to go and work in some horn of Africa, dealing with hungry people, with dying people, with famished people, and yet you are fulfilled in that space because there is a grander calling to it, a sense of purpose that is felt that makes it worthwhile for you to be in that space as opposed to your corner office, evidencing that material possessions, wealth, the acquisition of them, and of course money that can buy them is not a motivator. That's why a whole Lonnie diagnostician that worked for some Lonnie hospital and was nearly the president of that hospital can literally drop their whole life, grab their wife and children and move them to some remote corner of South America to deal with a hospital that is under-resourced, that is just teeming at the folds with so many eradicatable illnesses that nonetheless are wiping people out because there aren't enough resources. Purpose, a sense of they don't need me over there but they do here, goes a massive way. It goes a long way. It is a motivator. So if a person is feeling motivated, they work in spite of material in spite of material reward. The only thing that a lack of material reward achieves is anxiety. The only thing that a lack of material reward in the climate of a severity of work, like just a lot of work, achieves is a sense of where am I going to get resources to keep pushing this thing. We need money. Like if you think about Doctors Without Borders, if you think about people who put themselves in parts of the world that are unreached in this regard, they're always trying to advocate, petition, and what is the word that I am looking for? What is that thing? Yeah, I think the word I'm looking for is petition. They're always just trying to advocate, rile up people and even knock on doors. What is the word that I am? They're chugging, like they are perpetually chugging the governments of their countries. Like, this doctor could be a doctor without borders chilling in Congo, but he's an American doctor, and he's always chugging his government for financing concerning the issues that you find in the region that he is in, because using things like, but you are a superpower and you have a responsibility under international law to suffering across the world. This is a humanitarian crisis. You need to increase the financing towards this particular project. And then when he can't get that done, he then knocks on the door of Amnesty International. When he can't get that done, he then knocks on the door of the World Health Organization to try and petition for more TB medication, because people don't have to die from this thing. And yet look at how very many of them are dying because medication is not getting to them. So the only thing that a lack of resources does in people who nonetheless are fulfilling a purpose is inspire in them a great deal of sorrow. It inspires in them also anxiety, and it makes them rabble rousers for the cause. It makes them chuggers. It makes them petitioners. It makes them knock on doors of people who could not care less, but they don't stop knocking. So all you do is cause a difficulty to sleep at night, a sorrow, but definitely never a desire to throw in the towel. Like, the passion is too deep, the purpose is too girthy. This individual feels such a strong sense of purpose, determination, and conviction for this particular mission that they're not going to let it go. They will only ever, however, lament about the lack of resources to enable this thing along. They will keep on highlighting that people don't gotta die like this, and yet they're dying because purpose is a chunky motivator. They figured that out in corporate South Africa. Give people a sense of purpose, tune them in, let them know, let them in on what we're doing. Every so often award them understanding concerning how this has impacted the overall mission of the company. Put them on the ground with their ears to listen for stimuli, so whatever might come through. And when then they are part of that listening committee, when then they do their jobs, they will feel like they're doing something great. When then they do their jobs, they will feel like they're contributing whatever small portion of it that they're contributing to a grander thing. And so it can also account for why it is that a lot of people end up so basically obsessed with their careers. It's just the thing that is established in them is a sense of purpose and a sense of belief. A sense of belief that they're basically contributing to the greater good. Okay? Yeah. And within the field of industrial psychology, they figured out how to help companies, and it became a tried and tested method to basically improve office buildings. And then you saw the results, just like with Goodwill, in company balance sheets. But this time around, literally profit margins burgeoned on, never mind abstract structures and balance sheets like Goodwill, but actual product uptake because of increased creativity, increased quality, increased product quality. Therefore, the increased company trust, company brand presence, the increase of all of these things because of literally just doing something so basic as change an office building, switch it up, and give people better chairs and better laptops. It hugely, like significantly displayed to work. So much so that, right, like okay, before I get to that part, yeah, so much so, what is this? Go MTN, they improved office buildings, but they realized that people need a lot more. So to create this very vibrant working atmosphere, they also used to bring celebrities. Like, like one time Trevor Noah came to do a little comedy skit. I spoke about how the other day how it is that we had competitions and there was like an MTN Pop Stars who's Got Talent, MTN's Got Talent, and my team came, me and my little band came second. We had team buildings where we had to do war cries and all that stuff. Yeah. And also because the company was so rich at the time, the team buildings that were off-site were so opulent. There was this one resort that we went to. I can't really call it a resort because it wasn't really in a resorty region, but it was like a stay, an inn. I don't know what you want to call it. It was like in some bushes. Okay, it was there far away, Awimba way, somewhere in them bushes, like just off, like just between Hartbeespoort and us here in Johannesburg. Guys, oh my goodness, it was so beautiful. Like the rooms. Yes, like I could live there. The only thing in Eshota was a kitchen. The only thing, guys, like, I don't even think I've had some pretty impressive apartments and nothing could ever come close. The only thing missing was a kitchen. It would make for an excellent bachelor pad. Like, those rooms were glorious. The bathtub was this jacuzzi that was so roomy, and the shower, it's had this like beautiful marble. They were so beautiful. And then come on, the sliding door outside of your queen or king-sized bed, because it was in the forests, it was in them bushes, them jungle, guys, and it was up there, it was high. You open the sliding door, and literally think Lion King when Simba is standing on a mountaintop just looking at the terrain, and that music is going, and you just look at this like landscape of earth. It was beautiful. It was just like the earth at your fingertips from your terrace, your sliding door. You wake up like Simba and you're like, I don't know what that guy's saying in that song, but you get the point. I was like, it was gorgeous. I have a thing about nature, young Tosa, because I have a thing about spiders, creepy crawlies. These rooms didn't have any such issue. It was just so glorious, so beautiful. This place, and we were there for 2 nights. And everybody had, like, those rooms were so spacious, they were so big, and yet everybody had their own. And I was like, Batong, really, nearly 150, you paid for every one of us to have these rooms? You've got money. They were so glorious, and I would go there again today. Like, I would go there again today just in Jaffa to check that joint. It was so beautiful, so beautiful, and so elevated. And every little chalet, every little room, every quarters looked like it was alone, uniquely, just by itself on that mountain. Like when you were chilling on the terrace, go sliding door, you did not see it. It was like you were there alone, except you had knowledge that if you just walk a couple of meters, the next person go chalet. They built it in a way so as to basically angle the individual rooms away from each other. I feel a sense of privacy, so a family could feel like they're there by themselves in the bushes, except they had access to the hotel. It was just wonderful. It was beautiful, right? MTN would spoil stuff with stuff like that. Like 2 nights in Jeffela in a joint of that nature, Otahopula Hotel, where your own apartment is going to be looking like a trash joint, okay, like a dustbin, like you're dumpster diving when you're in there. Anyway, stuff like that used to happen. And not only were we inspired were enabled along by such things as these, we were made to feel valued as unique staff members. Because if you, at the time, I was still a coordinator, I was yet to be a project manager. If when you are just an administrator for a team, you can get a room like that, it's not just the executive, and it's not just your senior manager that has this Lani room. It's even entry-level staff, it's administrative staff, it's lowly job people. You feel a sense of, I am part of something big, I am part of something huge, and people don't look at me as just the lady that does minutes and every so often books boardrooms. People look at me as a member of the team, like I'm part of something. They got that right. They figured stuff like that out. And so because they got that right and figured stuff like that out, people were motivated and inspired. Because of huge bonuses, such team buildings, a sense of camaraderie, and involved, you get my point. The ergonomic building, the this, that, and the other. MTN 1, 2, 3, 4, however many years in a row, kept on winning employer of choice. It had the lowest staff turnover of all the companies I'd ever worked in. Where it is that I worked at, people were in and out, quitting jobs. But when I got to MTN, there were people who were there for 10 years, 20 years since it started. They were working in the little hut that Karabo started at with him, and they came up on the rise. They rised up. And also, the promoting staff, like, you know how in some companies they will tell you need to do 10 years of time before we move you to the next position. Go MTN, and so far as you can prove yourself, you could get like elevated, level up. So it was very easy to grow. up the corporate ladder there insofar as you applied yourself, etc. So it made people vote it year after year after year employer of choice. What I'm getting at is that when you desire for something to thrive as an ecosystem, you invest in it, and then the return on investment, you will see it over the years, even though the investment was nothing but a chunky cost center. Even though the investment was so lofty that you are to be giving mere administrators penthouse suite-like lofts at the team building. A team building of which that team building was not just our team, it was literally our department. So there was like 150 of us there or something. And all 150 of us had those kinds of rooms. All of us. Yo, it was just like shocking what they did. And at that stage, they were already starting to complain about money. So they spent a handsome amount of money just to get us all motivated and stuff like that. Yeah. When you put that much money down on people because you believe in them, because you are motivating them, you literally fix a company that is on its way out by simply investing in things that you think it's a waste of money. When you invest in people that way, you therefore also fix what? A country, a community, a village, any environment full of people. If they feel motivated, they will push for that agenda until it flips, it does a 180 and it comes around. But MTN went daft and silly and dastardly, and they stopped investing in their people, and they started proliferating rather corruption. They started to classistly treat certain people a particular way versus others, to a point where it stopped mattering the ergonomics of the company, that I'm sitting in a comfortable chair and that the light is always coming in. Because at the end of the day, all the other factors that contribute to why it is that the company did so well for so long are being eroded away at by human indiscretion. People started to do corrupt things. They started to become shoddy below the belt and have no regard for fellow people. As a result, literally a woman out here lost an entire career because of this random crazy stuff. Well, what happened at MTN is what's presently happening in South Africa, where people start out 1994 Rainbow Nation, blah blah do you, and you want to proliferate the agenda of the country. But then as time progresses, you become so greedy, so self-absorbed and so conceited that you will then focus on the agenda of a mere group, a mere silo. You're back again to those cubicles that are high up like that, covering everybody to the towers. You're back to that concrete building with no glass windows, with no glass walls, that is dark and stymied, with 6 lifts in the foyer, instead of just to go MTN to inspire people to rather take the stairs instead of what do you call this thing, instead of the lift. And even then, if you do take the lift, make sure so you have an ability to still look around at the building, because literally that thing you were made of glass. Do you understand what I'm saying? But now, in a very psychological and spiritual sense, you're going back to those 6 lifts that you're scared to enter into, lest it should be a ghostly experience on the inside. A ghostly experience on the inside. You're back to Libridge as a country. You're back to 100 Main as a country. You're back to Saltus Plaza, the little office building that I used to work at when I was a trainer in Hatfield, Pretoria. Dry. You're back to an uninspired environment. Another place as well, Kokijima. In Samrand, there were offices that were old, right next to a new block that they had built that was new, based on the ergonomic recommendations of the time. Huge difference. And I worked in both buildings. In the beginning, I was working in the ergonomically efficient building that was bright, the sun coming in, barely any lifts. There were no lifts. No, I don't even think there were lifts. And yes, there were lifts, and the lifts that you could see as you go up, everything, yeah, they were open with glass, lighting everywhere, greenery, shrubs, trees outside. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful building, and open plan, just absolute open plan in the building. But the older buildings, yes, like it, but you go in there and you feel so depressed. They were restructuring, and I re-interviewed. It's why I moved to MTN. They were restructuring, and I was an intern. I was on, what do they call that, probation? Yeah, I was on probation. And then they decided they're going to restructure. They made a decision that they're going to retrench people. And when you get, they used method, yeah, if you're a contractor or if you are an intern, if you're on probation, you are highly likely going to get retrenched. So while I was still out here trying to vie for a job, they are actually laying people off. But the opposite side of the building was actually recruiting project managers. I was interning as a project manager. Good thing. I was like, okay, I'll go interview. at the interview, I was the building that I went to for the interview, I was like, my goodness, it was feeling like a mine. Mining, like, yeah, a mine, as in underground. Anyway, I got the job as an IT project manager. I got the job. They gave me the job, and I got the job. They even interviewed me in Afrikaans and I could understand what they were asking me. I got the job, okay, and I started working there. Yo, guys, that building, it's like construction, man. Construction. It's like I was working in scaffolding and I couldn't deal. The building was so dark. It was so dingy. It had been around for a minute. Like, as in maybe in the days of apartheid, it was always there. Mengati, the ceiling is just gonna cave in. I was so depressed. I didn't understand how anybody could work there and feel okay. Miserable. And all the bosses were incubated in offices. My boss had her own office. If I wanted to speak to her, that's when I was just like, I hated it. And I also hated IT project management. So when MTN offered me a demotion in exchange for a season of being retrained up in project management until I got all the time in, I took it. I took a demotion just to get out of that dingy, ergonomically inefficient ecosystem. And I was happy at MTN. I lasted there 5 years until they fired me without cause. It was the one place where I worked the longest. Everywhere else I was in and out. Yeah, that's what's good. So yeah, this system, this structure, this building model, this architectural model of an office building, I would later come to see it again in Centurion. Go momentum. Because there was some opportunity that rocked up that did not last in my life. After I lost my job, my life has just been a disaster. And Momentum had the exact same office building as MTN. But instead of yellow all over the show for where there is color, it was red. But it was the exact same, like proper. It looked like MTN. The foyer, the lobby, I was like, oh, this is probably an architectural design that is coined by probably one particular firm, one particular construction firm, civil firm, that is building, rebuilding, reimagining corporates and fashioning them in the exact same model because it works. The boardroom that we went to as well, open plan, spacious, roomy. When you in the lobby, you see the canteen right in the corner, right there, in the near distance. Momentum in Centurion is beautiful. Like, if you've been there, you would know what I'm talking about. MTN. It looks exactly like MTN, exactly. And that's when I realized, oh, they're probably building corporates in South Africa like this because they see that it works. It does improve margins. Like, it literally improves performance to work in an environment like that. But when, albeit working in an environment like that, there then creeps in detestable forces. There then creeps in a darkness. There then creeps in sabotage. There then creeps in individualism. There then creeps in selfishness. There then creeps in all manner and kinds of machinations with people plotting and scheming. You see, when people feel a sense of purpose, like they are part of something big, they start to feel a lot more important than yesterday when they were just regarded as an administrator. So when you feel important, there then is a room to fester brand spanking new sins. Like, okay, seeing as I'm important, I'm gonna knock over that girl, that guy, that one, that I may truly be above them all. The level of persecution and competition of staff because of the enablement of regular Janes to basically all have a voice in regular Joes caused a very ugly rat race that got me literally fired. It made out of me Daniel in the lion's den. I lost everything. Everything. Because people took the fact that industrial psychologists enabled corporate bosses to give two hoots about people. Now that somebody cared about them, they became like spoiled brats that didn't care about each other. That then started bullying everybody on the left and on the right of them because now they've been given opportunities. South Africa is crashing and burning because everyone is evil in both the private and the public sectors. When you are determined to better your land, your company, your country, whatever you're trying to better, your village, you invest in it. But the thing that makes like Pac-Man on investments are evil souls, evil men. The heart of man is evil. The human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Do not mistake me for misanthropic. I do not hate the human misanthropic. Sorry, I do not hate the human race. I'm just realistic about how evil they are. And South Africans, I don't like you anymore because you have so afflicted me that access by you don't care about your country. You have defecated. You have defecated where you eat, and you have left souls squandered and disenfranchised that ought not be in that position and that should have contributed to the country's economy. You have stolen from your own country, but it is no surprise that you should have done that because even your leaders steal from the country. If at all there are these inefficiencies in an economy, it'll eventually crash and burn. Literally, an ecosystem is only as strong as its weakest link. All the way from 1994, from as soon as the new government came on board, otherwise known as the black government, let's just put that out there. As soon as the previously disadvantaged were awarded opportunity to be not so disadvantaged anymore, our government made a decision to not invest in the ergonomics of the country. So corporate South Africa goes and ergonomically beefs up and benefits its buildings, improving them from the apartheid model. But the government didn't improve our cities and make them look like the UAE. We ain't looking like nothing like Dubai. In the same way that they bought new chairs, new desks, they brought down ugly old lifts and put in new ones and fixed up the office environment, made it airy, lots of views of the highway outside. The South African government was supposed to do the same thing with our roads. They were supposed to do the same thing with our electrical infrastructure. They were supposed to do the same thing with our government schools. They were proper. Like Wits University has, it went on right ahead to refurbish a whole bunch from the time I was there to the time I was there. Because I started out fresh out of matric. Then I had to take a 2-year gap because my mom didn't pay my fees. And then I was paying off my fees to take myself back to school. When I came back, they had refurbished the Center of Origins. They had refurbished even Wits Plus, the Center for students that were part-time. They were working, they had built a whole new section in West Campus of lecture halls. They had basically, and they had remodeled the whole of the matrix where people eat, right? And basically just the culture of the school, you will find it in that place. They remodeled so much within just 2 years of me being out of action that I was happy and impressed. They also remodeled the School of Engineering. Parking lots and everything was remodeled. Private institutions be doing that for themselves, yet public institutions, Gutulile here, Dololo. It's not enough to merely put one occasional park in a city and then put City of Johannesburg City Park. The places where people are every day, the places where people go every day in order to basically acquire a future in your country, that's what you must build. They were supposed to rebuild, like I said, electrical infrastructure. They were supposed to rebuild roads and schools, government schools. They were supposed to put a lot more resources therein, improve how they look, how they operate, how they function. And because they wanted to look like they were refurbishing, they wanted to look like they were improving these places, they embarked on civil projects that appeared to be enabling a particular thing along, but they were rather robbing the country. Look at where it is that they build roads, road infrastructure. In the inroads, and I keep repeating myself, in the inroads, the potholes are ridiculous, just ridiculous, in a way that they are not to be found. You're not going to find the same potholes on the highway because it would be too dangerous to have poor workmanship on highways, because that's the fastest place where people can drive in the country. The speed limit there is 120 kilometers an hour, whereas on the inroads everywhere else it's 80 kilometers an hour, 60 kilometers an hour, with maybe speed bumps right inside like the actual residential areas. So they literally invested, when it came to residential areas, in such low quality tar that the roads are canyonic. It looks like molten, it looks like a crater. It looks like a landscape that has got volcanic craters in certain. There's like this road in Strubens Valley that literally looks like a landscape where volcanoes erupted, leaving craters in the road, and you can see that they've been patching it up over the years. So when you drive in that road, you drive at literally 20, and I'm not exaggerating, kilometers an hour, maybe even 10 kilometers, so that your car does not actually get destroyed. But when you drive out to Hendrik Potgieter, it gets better because it's a busy road where cars can drive really fast. When you get on the N1 highway, it's better. But go back inside suburbia again, potholes. Like, they go out of their way to use substandard materials to build roads in suburbia. It's almost as if though this is our investment, frankly, in speed bumps. It's our investment in speed bumps. People will slow down because there's a crater in the road. Well, Hendrik Potgieter is not bad when it comes to craters in the road, but Beyers Nadia, yes, like it. You would think they made it with paper mache or chalk. In fact, chalk is the better example. You would think Beyers Nadia was made with chalk instead of tar. The way that there's so many craters all across that road. But the moment you on-ramp onto the N1 highway, all of a sudden there is no pothole. So why? What is the difference between Beyers Nadia and the N1 highway? Because everywhere it's road, right? Everywhere it's tar. The same materials are essentially supposed to be used. But no, there is substandard, never mind workmanship, but also materials utilized on the in-roads and sometimes even in main roads that aren't highways, however. So all of Beyers Nadia going into Northumberland is just a bumpy ride. It's a bumpy ride. But when you go to Sandton, barely ever will you drive in Sandton anywhere on a road that is bumpy. They invest, yes, in speed bumps too, there, in a way that you don't quite find them as frequently in like your Rodipot or your whatever, evidencing that they're classist, the government is classist. But they also barely ever have any potholes. Barely ever. Whether it's on Rivonia Road, which is a main road, or on the inside in residential areas. Because that's where our ministers live, and that's also Africa's industrial hub. That's where tourists come in. That's where people set up base camp when they want to stay in Gauteng in Johannesburg for a season. And so to impress tourists in this economic metropolis that is Sandton, they invest in roads there. But all the other suburbs of South Africa, of Johannesburg, of Gauteng, all the other suburbs of Gauteng, they don't care to invest there. Like the south of Johannesburg, the west and the east. That's Johannesburg, that's where I'm from, so I can speak to my own province. But I would imagine that go KwaZulu, for instance, it's probably like that. Go Umhlanga, like Sandton, where barely any potholes on the roads. I can vouch for it, actually. Not long ago did we go to KZN with my family, and we went to some mall, go Umhlanga, and it was beautiful like Sandton, and there were a whole bunch of speed bumps in those roads, on the in-roads in their suburbia, barely any potholes. But when you go to places like Berea, when you go to downtown Durban, you will start to find roads that are unkept. You will start to find basically infrastructure that's not quite having the back of the people they're in. A classist government that where government officials stay and where people upon visiting from international places, from overseas, tourists, the city, the country, where they lodge, they invest there. But everywhere else, they just leave it nasty. And then in terms of road infrastructure, I have lamented about this time and time again. Go Soweto, Old Potch, that long Chris Hani Baragwana road. I think they renamed it Chris Barag or whatever. Old Potch, Old Potch. I don't understand why under heaven they uprooted robots in favor of roundabouts. Robots work with electricity. Robots need to be maintained, and their robots are traffic lights. And they saw it fit to get rid of these traffic lights in exchange for a roundabout where people must yield. It is literally the jugular that joins Soweto to the south of Johannesburg and downtown Johannesburg. And a lot of people, if at all they work in Sandton, which is in the north of Johannesburg, or anywhere, if they have to travel from Soweto to like any other suburb, long, far away, in order to get to work, they have to go through Old Potch. They have to go through Old Potch. That means that is a road that is so backlogged. It's a bottleneck with traffic during the week because of people who live in Soweto that work in Sandton, that work in the east of Johannesburg, the south, the west, yeah, proper. Because people, they have a thing about their ghetto, they have a thing about their gussie. So even though you're working in Benoni, you will thoroughly live still go Soweto. So you have to use this road in order to join all the various highways that can go to all the rest of this Johannesburg. And Old Potch is a jugular. It is so long. It literally is the vein that feeds blood into all of Soweto, all the way into entering into suburbia. And they made a decision to uproot robots on a road like that. Old Potch is so busy that even before they got rid of that robot, on Saturdays, when people are not going to work, do you understand? You will feel like it's morning on Tuesday. You will feel like it is 6:30 on Tuesday morning. Old Potch or 7, yeah, on a Saturday, because bustling activity in the Kasi, in the ghetto, people going to parties, people traveling all over the show, people this, that, and the other, people doing whatever they need to do, funerals all over the show. Yeah, up and down Old Potch, up and down. So you will chock up block bumper to bumper traffic on Old Potch, even on a Saturday. So if it's bad on a Saturday, I mean, how much worse is it on a Monday morning? And you out here uprooting robots. You all know what happens when you have to four-way stop because robots are not working, right? It causes a chock block. Yeah, because of having to stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. Yeah, why would you do that on a jugular vein that leads into suburbia from one of the biggest ghettos in the country? Why would you cause people to have to wake up 1 hour early to get to work because you got rid of iroboto in favor of a roundabout that operates with the four-way stop system or yield? People yielding and then going around on a Monday morning. Are you serious? Because you don't want to maintain robots? When I saw like the intersection that I'm talking about, I know it well because my aunt lives there. She lives in the end roads of that intersection. And when I drove past that like some years ago, I was like, listen, you know what that street is? Y'all need to understand. So there is this road that Old Potch, I told you, is like a jugular. There is a street called Dobsonville Road in Soweto that leads to the west of Johannesburg, basically to where I stay, to Roodepoort. It goes to Main Reef Road, etc. And it is skinny, it is ridiculous, it's bustling, and it is unkept, and it is scary to be in. It has no street lights on the left or on the right, such that when you drive there at night, you will feel like a beast is going to pounce on you, never mind gangsters. That road is one of the most busiest in Soweto, and it intersects with Old Potch, right where my aunt, around the area where you drive in to go and see my aunt. So Dobsonville Road, which is one of the busiest roads in Soweto, right next to the busiest road in Soweto, the jugular, Old Potch, where Baragwanath Hospital is at, that very incredibly important intersection. That's the one where I noticed a couple of years ago, they uprooted robots there and they put freaking roundabouts, a very elaborate roundabout where cars have to yield, creating that level of chock-a-blockness in that very important intersection. The black government did that. And a comprehensive unpreparedness to invest in how your country operates, in how your country runs. Oh, mind you, one of the most important hospitals in the country, in the city, in the province, Bara, is on Old Potch. People who don't have medical aid and so can go to Lesedi Clinic have to go to Bara. Old Potch is an ambulance route, long story short, and it's got that for a problem. An ambulance route that has had like rice chilling in your breathing airway. But you're not going to be able to breathe. You can die. You will choke. You will asphyxiate. The biggest hospital in Soweto, and also the most important one for for a whole bunch of things. There are so many disciplines that Barra has just coined. Bato, Lady accident, and all of the casualties that occur all over the rough streets of Soweto. The ambulances are go Baragwanath. Dibe up and down Old Potch, up and down Dobsonville Road, up and down, and they proper have to also yield. They also have to yield. They also have to bumper to bumper, chock a drop. And also Old Potch, like, hey guys, the situation is so dire. There aren't even yellow lanes. You know, a yellow lane is there in order for such things as ambulances to drive in them when there is an emergency. At least if there were yellow lanes. There isn't even a yellow lane. So basically if there's an ambulance on some wee behind, people have to move their cars so that the ambulance can squeeze through. Also in the center of a chock-a block that's happening because they uprooted robots. That's a country that is saying, I don't care, because I'm keeping this money. That's a country that's saying, I don't care about you, I'm keeping this money. Our government officials are so corrupt that money that ought to be invested in infrastructure all across the board, road infrastructure, I don't even know why I go to Dobsonville Road. There's still no street lamps. Ebsugu, Awimbawe. You would be benefited to at least see one little cat eye on the road. They can help you navigate where